education. Hi, Dave. Thank you for joining us, even though it's so late.
Hello, good evening. Let me just share my screen quickly.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Hi, everybody. Joining in from Makati City, Philippines. And of course, very much happy to be here. My name is Dave Del Rosario. I'm currently the head of the Community and Ecosystem Department at Idea Space Kubo. We're one of the Philippines' leading startup support organizations since 2013. And for the next 6 minutes, I'll allow me to share with everyone what's happening inside the Philippine startup ecosystem and what can you expect from our very humble yet promising community. Just to start off and maybe to provide everyone with a quick context about what's happening in the Philippines and why is today the perfect time to start your own startup in the Philippines or relocate and invest in the ecosystem. In terms of our economy, we're the third largest in Southeast Asia with the GDP of around 377 billion US dollars with growth rate of 6.7% from 2010 to 2019. Additionally, we are not only the second largest population in the region, having around 110 million, but reports also show that we have the youngest population in the ASEAN region with 24.3 years old as the median age. And an advantage that the Philippines has, it's really its strong digital presence with over around 74 million users online. Of course, not to mention when we entered 2020 and really welcomed COVID-19. Just like most of the countries in the world, the Philippines was impacted severely, especially when the economy hardly relies on tourism, remittances, and services. And up until now, we are still under community quarantine, but not as tight compared to the early months of 2020. And this has brought negative impacts in terms of the economic growth, as we've seen heavy declines in consumption and investment growth. But nonetheless, we are glad that the economy is now recovering and we are now seeing more startups booming in the region, particularly in the fintech and e-commerce sectors. And as of the latest count, and this is not exhaustive, the Philippines houses around 700 plus startups to date. And we are also seeing some growth and activities from different investors in the country. And more and more incubators, accelerators, and co-working spaces are popping up not just in the metro, but different in different regions in the country. And more importantly, we are very thankful that for the past several years, the government has been the guiding pillar of the startup ecosystem. Numerous efforts have been undertaken, especially the creation of the Innovative Startup Act that's aimed at providing benefits and support to not just strengthen the ecosystem, but to also promote and develop this one. And looking at or looking inside the Philippine startup ecosystem, we are still on the nascent stage. But if you delve deeper in the local tech scene, you'll see that it's full of potential and embedded capabilities that make it ripe for startups to thrive. We're also going to see here a very strong support and initiatives to develop the ecosystem, not just by the public sector, but also from the private sector. And then furthermore, startups are now being influenced by environmental and social impacts addressing different sustainability and equity issues. And according to a study made by Gubicor, we're developing more camels or those startups that have survived harsh business climates and are very resilient over the more common unicorns. And indeed, from the report, it stated that now is really a golden opportunity to really invest in the Philippine tech ecosystem. Also looking at the geographical state of the Philippines with around 7,000 islands, while it's good noting that most of the players are headquartered in the national capital region, we are also seeing growth and movement from different locations outside the metro. As you guys can see in the screen, different initiatives and programs are happening all around the country. And if you plan to visit Philippines and wanted to know more about the ecosystem, definitely visit Baguio, Cebu, CDO, and Davao, which are all accessible and reachable via plane in less than 2 hours. In terms of the strengths of the Philippine ecosystem, we are seeing a lot of startups in these three industries, namely e-commerce, logistics, and finance, which I think they call the Iron Triangle. And most of the investments we see over the past years are actually revolving around these three sectors. And speaking of investments, last 2020, our startups reached around 547 million US dollars, all in all, and approximately Around 50 million of that was invested in some high potential startups like Kumu, which is the top grossing and most downloaded app in the country since the start of pandemic, and hopefully will be our first Philippine unicorn. There's Paymongo, Plantina, NextPay, Great Deals, and Grocery. Now, with a country as small as Philippines, I guess this amount is basically one of our big wins in the ecosystem. Also looking at the initiatives and programs made and implemented by the government since 2010. Um, I mean, it clearly indicates a strong support to strengthen the ecosystem and develop it furthermore. We are seeing different policies, we are seeing different systems and programs to support startups, but more than that, the government itself organized their own startup funding programs to support local founders and are also have been active in setting up physical infrastructure like incubators inside different universities around the country to really develop the entire ecosystem. So as you guys can see, here are just some of the initiatives from 2010 to 2021, and I'd like to, of course, highlight the Philippine Startup Week here, where we launched the first ever Philippine Startup Week way back 2019 and became an annual celebration every November. So make sure to check that out, and I'd be more than happy to collaborate with everyone here. So for this year, just to highlight some notable programs that we have in the ecosystem. We have again the Philippine Startup Week, which is basically a 5-day celebration of the ecosystem. So if you wanna showcase your startup or your ecosystem to our ecosystem and really penetrate the Philippine market, do check us out. We're organizing one this year, this coming November. We're getting around 15,000 participants, over around 250 plus speakers. So we would definitely love to highlight and again also similar to this, to also spotlight your ecosystem to the Philippine market. Of course, we also have Startup Pinay, where we aim to create and support a community of female-led and female-empowered startups. So if you are up to this kind of initiatives and programs, feel free to check it out, and we would love to collaborate with everyone that's in this room. So I guess that's pretty much it about the Philippine startup ecosystem. That's very quick, I know, but I'd like to, of course, welcome everyone to our tech ecosystem. We welcome every collaboration opportunity, especially when it comes to supporting our startup founders. You know, the ecosystem is still young and thriving. There are a lot of things to work on and improve. And as they say, it definitely takes a village to raise a startup. So happy to connect and partner up with everyone here. You may reach me at dave@kubo.com.ph, or you may visit our website at kubo.com.ph or ideaspacefoundation.org. So thank you so much, and passing the floor back to you, Katrin.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you for that great presentation. Yeah, if you want to know more about the Philippine startup ecosystem, you can email Dave or go through the links that he mentioned. Dave